So my name is Josh. I'm the co-founder of what we call the Anka Cooperative. Anka in Turkish and in Arabic, it's a word that means phoenix. And the name was inspired from a sketch drawn by Syrian refugees of a phoenix bird rising from the ashes. And we thought it was a really symbolic story of the Syrian refugees that we want to help rise from the ashes of the terrible situation that they're facing. So my co-founder has been working in the refugee camps for 5 years. I got involved about 2.5 years ago. And what we're trying to do is employ and empower as many Syrian refugees as we can through the creation of fine carpets and traditional crafts. One of our carpets, a Syrian refugee-made carpet, is on display, in permanent display, in the Metropolitan Museum in New York City. And so these carpets are quite literally museum quality. And we have about 200 to 250 women that are currently working and weaving carpets for us at this time in 2 refugee camps in the southeast of Turkey. Just for comparison, I think Romania currently has about 8,000 to 10,000 Syrian refugees. Turkey has 3 million. And so finding a home and activities for all of these people is something that's greatly important. Idle hands creates really negative energy. And so we try to give people work, meaningful work, and they help create beautiful products. So just really quickly, what makes this one of the best rugs in the world, and we have won numerous awards for the highest quality carpets in the world. If you think of a fine wine or a fine dinner, it's the ingredients that go into it, not just the number of knots per square inch. It's an overrated metric. It's the quality of the wool and the quality of the dyes. Hand-spun wool and all natural vegetable dyes makes the carpet exceptionally good. These carpets will last for beyond our lifetimes, and probably something that your grandchildren, great-grandchildren will enjoy.
He's been living in Romania for over a decade, and he studied art in Syria. He has a BA from the University of Damascus in Fine Arts, and he became a member in 2003 of the Association of Fine Arts in Syria, and he came to Romania in 2006 because he had family here. And when he first came, he told me he wasn't able to do what he does, which is create art, because he had to make his way. But he was always painting, he was always sculpting, he was always sketching, he was, putting his heart in working to make a living. And finally, in October 2010, he had his first exhibition here in Romania at the Basel Gallery. And it was extremely successful and popular, and Ammar credits this to the kindness of people and the support he received from so many people in his life, including Marius and Virgil Mocano, a prominent sculptor. He had many people who encouraged him and supported him in his dreams. And he has had numerous exhibitions here at the Renaissance Gallery, the Elite Art Gallery, Basel Gallery, and Ammar Gallery, including several exhibitions abroad, such as in Spain and Tunisia. And today we are looking at a brief retrospective of Ammar's art. And when we were talking together, he mentioned over and over again about the fact that he is a Syrian living in Romania. He is looking at Romania through Syrian eyes. He's looking at his background, and he's trying to put it in the Romanian perspective. And that he does come from a beautiful, ancient, and very precious culture, Syria, which very sadly is in the middle of a terrible civil war. But this still lives on in him, and he has tremendous joy and pride from his own beloved country, and that when he came to Romania, he had many challenges, such as the language, getting to know people, getting settled, and he found one of the ways to express, because he is an artist, is through art and sculpture. When he talked about how he paints, he said that it's a communication between him and the art. And he's constantly sketching, constantly thinking, oh, I like that color, how can I use that color, where did I see that before? He is a sculptor and a painter. And he thinks sometimes, he sees with a sculptor's eye about shape and form texture. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well, how you can see it in the paintings themselves. And perhaps that's what is so catching about his eyes, his paintings. There is something very appealing, and I don't know whether it is the composition, the solidity of the figures, the colors, but all of it becomes so enticing that when you look at it, and it's so so pleasurable and so interesting to look at. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that Syria is a place that is a multicultural place. It has many different religions, different ethnicities, different kinds of people, and this influenced his art. So for instance, right around the corner, there are two images of women. And Ammar was said that he was missing the women of Syria, mothers, aunts, sisters, sweethearts, etc. And he began to paint these Oriental women. But these Oriental women do not have specific faces. They are general women. You can put whoever space on it you like. They are meant to be symbols of, beautiful women, women who are close to the heart. And what was super interesting as well was the iconography that was above each of these ladies. Iconography is using symbols, images, in order to create a message or to give a meaning. Iconography is made up of two Greek words. Icon is image, graphos is writing. So it is literally writing with images. And iconography has different meanings in different cultures. So for instance, I use this always when I give a lecture, I give a class, and I'm trying to tell people, what is iconography. If you see, and for any Americans here, and I think it's actually in many different countries, if you see a red octagon on the street, and it's on a metal post, what is that? It's a stop sign, yes. We don't actually need to see the word stop. We know immediately we stop. Like, I've seen even walk paths that have a little octagon, and we stop instinctively because we have been trained to do that. It is a symbol that we understand. Well, he has a crescent moon over one of the women. And crescent moons have different meanings in different cultures. In the Western culture, for instance, if you're looking at classical mythology, the crescent moon is the symbol of the goddess Diana. She is goddess of the hunt, and she is goddess of virginity. There's great pride associated with Diana. It can also be attributed to the changings of the seasons, because the lunar phases of the moon, the tide, time passing, and of course in Eastern tradition, and Islam in particular, it is a symbol of Islam. So he intentionally used that because he wants you to think of both things at once. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the Western tradition or the Eastern tradition. He's trying deliberately to fuse the two. And he's aware of the iconography in both cultures, and he's playing with it. And he wants you to have the different interpretations. The other one has a fish above her head. And once again, fish have a very strong symbol, and the fish all over the place here. And the fish has, in Western tradition, particularly in the Judeo-Christian tradition, fish is a symbol of Christ, actually, because fish in Greek is ichthyos, which is an anagram for Jesus Christ, Son of God, our Lord Savior. And we see it everywhere, actually. And it's also a symbol of rebirth. It's a symbol of life. And in the Eastern culture, it's also a symbol of abundance and food and plenty and prosperity. And once again, he meant very clearly to play with the two cultures and to infuse them. And birds. We see many birds. There's that lovely bird I just love in the middle on the left. There are various birds. There's one right there. They're just sprinkled all over the place. And birds in Western culture, for instance, the dove is a bird of peace. Sometimes crows are seen as harbingers of dew, but birds are messengers often. And in Eastern culture, they symbolize summer and spring and prosperity and wealth and abundance and happiness and food and family and hearth. And there's actually a beautiful portrait just around the corner of fish in a circle. And he told me this is the world. His father had gone fishing, and his sister had taken this photo and sent it to him. And for him, it was a symbol of the happiness and joy that his father experienced while he was fishing. And so it's again that intermingling of the two different cultures and expressing it in his art. And it brings me to the whirling dervishes. Whirling dervishes are often thought of men who just walk and prance in a skirt and turn around until they're totally dizzy and pass out, I guess. I don't know. But actually, whirling dervishes are part of a religious order. They're Sufis. And Jalaluddin Rumi was the kind of most famous Sufi. He was a poet. He was born in an area which is now modern-day Afghanistan. He lived in many different countries, including Persia, Turkey, etc. And Ammar talked about Rumi's travels and how this was inspiring to him because he's a man who's traveling and he is on his own journey. And how Rumi, brought beauty and love and poetry into the world. And I believe that Ammar, he didn't say this to me, but I believe that this is what he's trying to do with his art as well. And he told me that dervishes were fascinating to him, not simply because they're twirling round and round and round. This is actually not the meaning, that this is not what dervishes are about. They're actually believing in a mystical, beautiful love of humanity and love of mankind. And the twirling is just to get them into that kind of ecstatic state where they feel very connected and very close to God. He said, well, he was interested, of course, it's fascinating about the movement, but also, how do these people live? What are they like in the village when they play, when they're riding a donkey, and hence you see some donkey symbols, and what is their life like? How do they eat? Where are they going? What's going on? And the whirling dervish, for instance, this one here, you're seeing an aerial view where he's twirling, and his skirt has made a wonderful circle. And when I saw it, I said, "Is that the earth?" And he said, "No, it's a skirt, but it is in a way about, encompassing the earth and encompassing everything, the joy of life and the beauty of humanity." And we see many images of the whirling dervishes, and they have a belief that there are four main elements in life. They are fire, wind, water, and earth. And the colors correspond to that. So, for instance, white is the wind, blue is water, red is fire, and green is earth. Yeah. And Ammar was fascinated with them, and he wanted to portray this beauty and trust in the world, because to twirl round and round and round, actually, where you're going to lose your balance, there has to be a great trust in that someone maybe will catch you if you fall. And he was very fascinated by this trust in humanity and that life is beautiful. And he said that when he came to Romania and he began to paint, and people would say, why are you painting in that color? And here we come to the beautiful images of Sighișoara and Tăgămureș. And he said, people said, oh, that's not actually the real color. He said, but that's how I see it. I went to the Delta and I saw these beautiful greens and I saw wonderful blues. I passed on my way to Maramureș sunflower fields. And there's a beautiful image of sunflowers over there that it doesn't necessarily have to be the colors of the sunflower. That's how he saw it. He's using his own views, the colors that impressed him, the symbols that meant something to him, and he's incorporating it. So he's using, he says he's an Oriental man presenting Romanian themes in an Oriental way. And even the images that have traditional Western iconography, for instance, right at the door there's a painting called Ammar, or apples. And we talked about this one. And he says that it depends on your perspective as to how you interpret this one. Because apples, of course, you have, apples are abundant in Romania. Also, in Western tradition, when we think of apples, we think of Adam and Eve and fall and original sin. And he said that the apples do recall Adam and Eve, but it's not the way Western tradition views Adam and Eve. In Islamic culture, Adam and Eve's coming to earth is not a punishment, it is inevitable. They're meant to be the source of mankind, they're meant to be the source of humanity. And so he's not focusing about the sin or the fall, he's focusing on the humanity and the beauty and the family of humankind. And I thought this was really what a lot of his art was about, and why we feel so connected to it. That it is about a celebration of humanity, East and West, and Romania, Syria, and all of our different cultures. And it was, we look at these beautiful paintings, and we admire these stunning carpets that as Josh said, are actually technically superior and absolutely stunning. And they are produced by Syrian women who are refugees, who have had to leave their country because they cannot stay. It is not a choice. It's leave or die. And that here we are in Romania trying to sell these in order to produce an income for these women to have dignity and respect and a livelihood so they can feel good about themselves. I thought this was really about the spirit of humanity and the desire to love life and appreciate and help our fellow man.